Alright, in this video we'll see how to create a product inquiry form. So what do I mean by that? Consider you have a pages which you are selling t-shirt. So we have Batman t-shirt, we have Dexter t-shirt, we have Johnny Test t-shirt, we have Superman t-shirt. So you can see the t-shirt gets changed along with the content, and based on the content you have a form just below the t-shirt. So whenever some customer wants to make an inquiry, he would just fill this form, and that form would be sent without page refresh through Ajax, and it gets saved into a page. This is the page where it gets saved. So one customer named UI Monk had an inquiry on Batman. So even though he doesn't fill the product name, based on the page the data gets fetched and displayed over here. Not only that, we have, in case we have 4 different product, right? So based on the product we can set the size on a custom page. Let's say the Batman t-shirt has only available sizes of size small and extra large. Similarly for Johnny Test we have available all the sizes. For Superman we just have small and XL, uh, extra large. So if I click on save setting, so based on the setting, let's just get into the Dexter. So in the Dexter we have 2 sizes available, so these two gets displayed. What if I say I have small is also available? If I click on save settings, and based on that, you in the front end will have 3 options. And what if we don't have XL? I'll remove the XL and make this medium. So now we have small, medium and large. So those 3 options are available: small, medium and large. So based on the settings page filter, we would display the available sizes for each products, and also those products form data gets stored in this particular table. And even though we didn't fill the product name, it gets automatically populated based on the form submitted. In this video, what are the things that we are going to learn? We are going to see how to create a shortcode. So these forms are actually coming from shortcode, and we would be using Ajax to send the data. Let's say some random name, click on submit, you'll see data submitted, and this is happening without page refresh. So Ajax shortcode with HTML, shortcode HTML with Ajax, and then we'll be creating custom database and list table. So these data are coming from the database. So whenever someone submits a form, that gets stored into this particular table, and these table we are fetching it and displaying it over in this list table. This is called WP list table. And then we have custom pages for inquiry. So this is for the inquiry listing. Whenever submit form, we'll have the list over here, and this is the settings page. We'll see how to create these two as well. And now to achieve these are the functions, hook and WordPress functions we use to achieve this feature. In case if you are interested in learning this kind of plugins or related to WordPress, I have a complete roadmap for it. So get into this link, you will get a complete roadmap. Enroll into the course. Start with HTML, then get into CSS, then get into JavaScript, PHP MySQL, WooCommerce, and WP theme development, WP plugin development, and finally the Laravel development. So each of the courses have a particular lesson on it. Just go through those lessons step by step, and you'll be confident enough to say yourself that you are a skilled web developer, skilled WordPress developer, skilled web designer, skilled UI developer, and so on. Enough with the intro, let's get into it. Also, if you like my tutorial and if you wish to contribute for my coding journey, just get into this page and support me. Enough with the intro, let's get into the code. The very first thing that we need to do is we need to show our plugin on this particular page. So to do that, we need to get into our plugins folder, and I have set up WordPress locally. So inside the plugin folder, let's just name it as Enquiry, and we need to create a PHP file, and that file should actually be named with your folder name. So enquiry.php all files. Now we need to pass metadata so that we can display the product name, the description, and so on. So these are passed with the help of comments. So we can set the name We can set the description, we can set the version, we can set the author name. So this is enough to show your plugin on this particular page. So you see it's there. So once I click on activate, I want to create a table on this particular database A1. So just notice there is a prefix called wp underscore, and we will be storing our table into this database. So to get, so what we need is, once I activate, I want a code to get run. That code will create the SQL query for creation of table. Let's do that. Now with the help of register activation hook, we are calling a function, and that function will create a query for creating table. We have primary key ID, we have product name, we have size, we have name, email, message, and the date, and we're setting the ID as a primary key. And as said, we need to make the link between this page and the WordPress. So for that, WordPress gives you a global object called WPDB, which helps you to connect your PHP file with the database. So we are defining the table. This is the table name, and this is the prefix. We need to know what is the actual prefix. You can see WP underscore is the actual prefix. To know what is the actual prefix, we would be using the WPDB, and this is for the dataset. You don't have to worry of it. By default, it's actually ASCII or UTF-8. So we need to pass that along with the query. That's why we have defined it. And since we are running a custom table, to make the custom table query work, we need to use delta db, and which is defined in this particular page. And we are passing our query into the delta db so that it executes with all these measures required for the security reasons. Now since it's custom table, we'll be using delta db. If it is if it is a normal in default table, we'll be using wp query global object. Enough. Now if I activate the plugin, you should see a new table on this particular page, which we have named it as UIM for Enquiries. Click on the table, and you see it's there. Let's click on it, and by default, these are things that we have defined over here. Now what we need to do is, we need to create the link for the pages, these two pages. So for that, we'll be using a hook admin menu. Whenever the hook is called, we want the two function to get executed for two links. So these are doing the same functionality. If I explain one, the other one is self-descriptionality. So this is the page name, this is this is the page name, this is the link name, which you see over here, and this is the default keyword for WordPress to know what are the things that the admin can do. By default, it's manage option. Now we have the slug. If I click on it, you will see the slug changes to PEF settings. So that is happening because of this. So whenever I click on these two links, there is some function that need to be executed. That function name is actually this one. These are the two function names. When I click on the links, I want something to happen. And now if we refresh, since our plugin is active, you should see UIMonk Enquiry settings and UIMonk Enquiries. So we can just make this shorter, just removing the UIM. Now we have enquiries, which would be blank, and enquiry settings. So let's focus on enquiry settings for now. So for the settings, we need to display the form, just as you see here. So for that, let's write the HTML. So before that, these data are, since we are using setting API, these data would be stored into the WP option table. You see WP option table, and there we would be using a key value pair. So you see these are the keys on the right, and these are the values. So we need to create a key first. So since it's setting API, we have a function for updating and inserting, so we can use those to make our life easier. And we'll use get option to interact with the WP option table, and this is the keyword which holds our array. So just make you understand what is actually we are doing. So this is Batman, this is Dexter, this is Johnny Test. So these are actually the page ID. Let's say Batman has page ID 10 and Dexter has page ID 11, and similarly the other ones. Now these array will again have one more array inside it, so we'll call it multi-dimension array. So this post ID will have size small, and Excel. Similarly, these one will have S, M and L. S, M and L. And similarly, these one will have all the values which is marked. Now, I just want you to make sure that this will hold the collection of all the arrays, like these and like these and so on. So this is a multi-dimensional array, which is an array inside an array. So this is the concept that we are going to use. Let me just comment this. Now what we need, also we need the list of pages which this WordPress website has. To do that, WordPress gives you a global object which is pages. Let's use that. Get pages is the one which holds all your pages. Now let's use a form. Now what I did is I just simply created a form, and inside the form, based on the pages, I'm running a for loop. How many pages are there? That times of page name with the checkbox would be created, and since it's checkbox, we'll be using this keyword to hold our array. So the array are actually this one. So if I say, so this is actually this, which will hold either if S is ticked, S is checked, S would be stored. If XL is ticked, SL will be stored. I hope that's clear. Now if I refresh the page and get into these settings, this is our page, and based on the pages available, it got loaded all the required checkbox. What if I check some of the values and click on save changes? And how we would be able to track is, if I click on save settings, these value should get updated on the created options. So we have used this option to save. Now if the button is clicked, then update the keyword with the received sizes. So you can see these are the sizes we have used, and we are storing it into a key value pair on the WP option table. So let's say I have let me check all these values and click on save settings. It says the data is updated, but it hasn't reflected it yet. So to get that, so let me just see whether we have saved those data. Yes, you can see the data got saved. Now what we need to do is, if these values are checked, then show that as it is checked. So for that, WordPress gives you a function called checked. And now what we need to do is, we need to access the post ID. So what should I need to get these values? So what I'll do is, I'll create a variable called sizes, and I'll check and I'll pass the value 10. So if say I have a value called sizes, and I'm passing the page ID. If it's Batman, it would be 10. If it's based on the pages, the page ID would be sent. Since if I have the page ID, then what I need these values. I would be getting these values, and I will be checking whether the value S is there. If the value S is there, then the checked would be applied. If the value in the array M, it contains M, then checked would be applied. The same way, if the value XL is there in the array, since it's there, then the keyword checked would be applied. So that's the reason. That's why we are going to use this code. Get the array, and if the value found, then mark it as checked. So now you will see the page will have whichever value is checked will have the will have the keyword checked. You can see it in the second as well, or in the code. This keyword will have checked, and this keyword will not have checked because the value is not available in the array. And as said, you can see this is the post ID that is getting passed. let's work on the shortcode. So to make the shortcode work, we need to use the add shortcode function, which will trigger another, which will call another function that will be able, that will display the HTML. So the concept is clear. We'll just display the text fields and the drop down button. So this drop down button is coming to the, is coming from the, sorry, coming from the logic which we have already set. We'll be receiving this array, and we'll be using for each loop to display the option tag. The core part is done. Now what I did is I'm getting the post. Since it's going to be on the front end, this is the front end, we need to know the ID. So to get the ID, I'm using the post global object and getting the post title. We need post title since when entering the form, so no one is entering the post title, which is this one, so that we can display it on the enquiries list of enquiry listing. So for that, I am accessing the post super global variable and getting the product name, and using the same logic which I have explained, I am getting the sizes and displaying the option tag based on the sizes, and I am passing the input type hidden field for the product name, and this is for the, for populating the list item, sorry, not list item but the option tag based on the received array, and these are static input field and a button. When someone submits a button, what should happen? I want to create an array, so that array will hold these values and store it into a database. So for that, before that, what we need is, I want to beautify this. So let me just get into the page, edit page, and display my shortcode, removing the old shortcode and replace it by new shortcode. Now this one will not have CSS or JavaScript link to it. So you can see, first of all, it's not saved yet. Let's save it and click on refresh. And this doesn't have CSS and JavaScript. To add CSS and JavaScript, we'll be enqueuing script. So if you see, we need to create a form.css and form.js, and since we are using external jQuery or JavaScript, let me just save it, form.css and then form.js, and I have pasted all the required CSS. I'll explain the JS. Now after pasting our CSS, this is how our form will look like. So what is a code? It is simply linking our CSS into the WordPress default way of loading CSS and JS. So this is enqueue style, this is the handle that is for the WordPress to know, and we are linking our form.css file, and we are saying we don't need any dependency, and we're defining the version number. Similarly, this is the handle keyword for the WordPress to know, this is the location where our file is, and we are saying that before our file loads, make sure to load jQuery. So this is for the dependency, and we want our things to be load on the head section, that's why it's true. And since we are using jQuery on the external style sheet, we want our Ajax URL. When we are in the same file, we'll be just using wp-ajax.php to send our Ajax request. Since it's external, we would be sending them to a variable. So in the JavaScript, we can access this variable with the help of, this is the object name and this is the name of the link. So I'll show you when it's needed, when the time comes. So now the Ajax request will be sent on this URL. So we'll be accessing this. You can see I have used it over here. Now when I click on submit button, I want an Ajax request to be sent to this URL, and in the post request and serializable data, and make sure to have the action. So when I click on submit, those data that we have fetched from the form, that need to go somewhere, right? So to identify where it goes, we have a action. So we'll be using this action to write a hook, so that WordPress know which hook to call to take care of this data that is being passed through Ajax. And since we have an action attribute, so you can see this is the action attribute, we have named it and this is the keyword wp hyphen ajax hyphen, and this is going to be the action attribute. This is going to be the action attribute. So this is for the logged in user, so this is for the non-logged in user. I'm simply getting the table name and simply inserting those received value and sending the sending the message saying that inquiry submitted successfully, and that we will receive it and display it in the shortcode on this div. So let's check. On journey test it's new. Let's say Excel, some random name. Click on submit, and you see data submitted successfully, and on the table also we have entered the value. Now we need to fetch this value and display it on the page where we have written a function. Now we need to call a class which WordPress usually gives us. We need to create an object of the class, and we'll be using the prepare item. We have already covered this, and we'll be using this minimum. I would recommend you to watch the previous videos. I'll be going a little faster here. Now we need to create a class. I'm saying, and I'm using this class, extending the class which WordPress provides us, and I'm saying that that class is available in this particular location, and I'm defining the required column. I want checkbox, I want ID. So on the left side is from the database column, and the right side it's from the user defined point of view. I want these columns to be modified into these columns, and I'm saying hide the column by default, ID column by default, and I'm fetching the value from the database and displaying it over here with the help of items, and I'm displaying the table with the help of this function column default, and I'm modifying the column name which is CV. So you can see CV is the column name that I want to define or modify, so that's why column hyphen CV. So if you want the product name to be defined, product name to be changed, column hyphen product name, and you need to write the customization code. So this customization code is for the checkbox to be displayed. So if I get into the inquiries, so this is the recently added one. So likewise, if I open another product and edit the product with code that we have created, the code will work. And just view this, and this is a setting page for ours, and this is Superman, and let's say we'll make all the options available for Superman, and if I refresh the page you should see all the sizes are available. What if I don't want medium size? Then the medium size would be disabled. So see, medium is not there. Now I'm checking with some random values, and it says inquiry submitted, and over here on the settings, on the inquiries, you see Superman product got an inquiry from the name from this email ID, and the size is L. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for listening.